Goeiemôre, dis Sondag 20 Oktober en ek gesels met julle oor 'n onderhoud wat ek met John Steenhuisen gedoen het. Die DA is tans besig met 'n landwye toer om sy strukture in te lig oor hoe hulle ministers in die eerste 100 dae in die regering van nasionale eenheid gedoen het, om terugvoer te gee, om terugvoer te kry vanaf die DA se strukture oor wat hulle van hulle ministers verwag. En gister het Witbank aan die beurt gekom. Nou dit is geslote vergaderings hierdie, dis nie vergaderings wat die media kan bywoon nie, maar omdat ek naby is, het ek gevra of ek die geleentheid kan gebruik om rondom hierdie vergadering dalk 'n onderhoud of twee te kon doen en ek het toe op hierdie manier kon ek toe met John Steenhuisen, asook Ivan Meyer praat wat hierdie vergadering bygewoon het. Nou hierdie onderhoud wat ons nou na gaan kyk is een met John Steenhuisen en soos ons weet die eerste 100 dae van die regering van nasionale eenheid is verby en daar's allerlei berigte in die media oor hoe hierdie regering van nasionale eenheid vaar. En as jy nou daarna luister, dan kan jy soms onder die indruk kom dat dit 'n gedoemde regering van nasionale eenheid is. En daarom moet ek besluit, wag ek vra vir John self, waaroor gaan dit? En hoe vaar hulle? Hoe ervaar hulle dit?
Well, I think it's been amazing. It's been a whirlwind of getting to grips with new government departments and also trying to manage the relationships within the GNU and find each other. But I think overall it's been incredibly positive. I think it's been good for the country. Certainly all of the indicators are moving in the right direction. Inflation's down, fuel prices are down. There's greater sense of enthusiasm and interest in the country for some real growth and jobs now. And I think that is fantastic. So I think the country is a lot better place it is today than it was on the 23rd of May.
Do you experience a more positive vibe?
Certainly, and it's not only an experience. I mean, many South Africans, of course, come to you in airports and other places saying thank you for what you guys are doing to make the country a better place, build a future. But it's also reflected in the polling as well. For many, many years, the polling that we've been doing has, when voters are asked the question, is South Africa moving in the wrong direction or the right direction? Well, certainly for the last 25 years, 80 to 85% have said wrong direction. That's dropped now to around only 35%. So that is a huge indication that South Africans are feeling the sentiment change with a government, a new government, a government that's now determined to actually drive a reform agenda. And that's why we're in government, because we want to make a difference, we want growth, and we want jobs for South Africans.
Nou is dit ook so dat die jongste staatskoerant gepubliseer is en bevestig het dat die BEE kriteria vir landbouuitvoere wat in 2022 'n bekommernis was, nou in werking is. En ek weet 'n rapport berig ook vanoggend in 'n artikel daaroor waar Sakeliga se Piet Leroux vir John oproep om asseblief aandag te gee aan hierdie klousules wat bekommerenswaardig is, omdat dit rasregulasies is wat redelik kommer behoort te werk. Maar ons weet hierdie regulasies kom nou al van 'n lang tyd af en dat dit nog nie toegepas is nie, maar dat dit die risiko inhou om vir boere skade te kan veroorsaak. John sê hy is besig om aandag daaraan te gee. Die departement het dit blykbaar deurgevoer en hy is in gesprek met die departement daaroor om te kyk hoe hierdie saak aangeraak kan word. Maar daar is ook 'n lang lys van suksesse te midde van kritiek wat 'n mens seker ten regte kan lewer, maar daar is ook 'n baie lang lys van suksesse en ek het vir John hieroor uitgevra ook.
The new trade deals that we signed with China, which will open up the market and deal with some of the concerns around foot and mouth. Previously, the market's been closed off. If there was an outbreak in the Eastern Cape, the whole country would have to shut down. Now, we've agreed to regionalize it, so that's opened it up. Being able to get to grips with the onus to put biological products and start to get to the bottom of what's happened to the money there and how we can hold those accountable and responsible. be able to get biosecurity back onto the agenda so that we can make sure that biosecurity can be the top performing, biosecurity can put us at the top performing area of being able to perform as agricultural sector.
What are the biggest problems you still have to get to?
Well, there's some huge problems that we have, and most notably around animal diseases and the control of them. We've got a foot and mouth outbreak in the Eastern Cape that's caused devastating economic damage to that particular dairy industry there, and we've got a huge challenge with making biosecurity everybody's responsibility. It can't just be farmers, it has to be the department, farmers, and the whole of society in terms of understanding how important biosecurity is for dealing with these animal diseases and that going forward. Secondly, it's finances as well. Our fiscus is incredibly constrained, and we've had to cash the check that was written by a finance minister that would have 10,000 extension officers. There's no way the department can afford them without government money, and so we've got to find alternative ways to deal with these things. But it's been hugely exciting for me to be in a sector that's got a real can-do attitude. The agriculture sector in the country, our farmers, our farm workers, and the industry bodies all want to do something positive to make a difference for the country. And I think there's huge opportunity there by working together in partnerships to achieve all these things that we would like to get done.
Soos ons aan die begin gesê het, is daar media en ontleeders wat 'n mens graag wil laat glo dat die regering van nasionale eenheid op baie wankelrige bene staan en dat dit eintlik maar as dit ware môre tot 'n einde kan kom as 'n mens net so blaas daarop. Die vraag is egter, hoe beskou iemand soos John dit in sy hoedanigheid as minister wat deel is van hierdie regering van nasionale eenheid en dan ook as leier van die oppositie, die DA. Kan die RNE regtig môre sommer net so tot 'n einde kom, het ek vir hom gevra.
Wel, ek dink daar's 'n groot ding wat ons kan doen vir Suid-Afrika as ons dit kan regkry. As 'n regering wat ernstig is oor die ekonomie en groei in ons land, dan kan ons saamwerk om 'n groot verskil te maak in die land. Ons dink dat as ons nie in die regering bly, dan daar is daar is 'n groot kans dat die brekers in die EFF en MK sal inkom, en dan het ons die oordeelsdag koalisie waaroor ek gepraat voor die verkiesing, en ek dink dat sal groot skade doen. As hulle sal ingekom het na die verkiesing, ek dink nie dat as Suid-Afrika sal in so 'n goeie posisie wees as ons nou is, as gevolg van die RNE. So ons moet daar bly om seker te maak dat ons toekoms kan verseker word en dat ons kinders het 'n toekoms in Suid-Afrika met 'n regering wat ernstig is oor ekonomiese groei en goeie regering en wat teen korrupsie kan veg, maar ook 'n regering wat ernstig is om saam 'n nuwe toekoms te bou. Well, certainly there's been across all parties, a huge outpouring of goodwill and wanting to work together. There's a very good mood in the cabinet. There's a very good mood within the decision-making structures. And I think that's a very positive thing. I think that you've seen a lot of people and commentators in the media, they like to catastrophize things. So, they want to put on their front page, GNU under threat, or, the GNU's end of the road for the GNU, ? The reality is that these issues are a lot more nuanced than many people think. We've also starting to find each other. And there's a realization from all of us that none of us have a majority. So none of us can get everything that we want. And that includes the ANC. They can't get everything they want. And they must understand that. But so too the DA must understand that we can't get everything we want. But we can get many of the things that we do want. And it's through this mature discussion, finding each other, resolving the differences. It is impossible for a 10-party coalition to agree on everything all the time. And we must refrain from catastrophizing differences There will be differences.
Some
there
people,
are differences
some
of
people
opinion.
want to make it sound like, oh, this is going to end tomorrow. If I ask you now, is it going to end tomorrow? What will be your answer?
I don't think it's going to end tomorrow, and I think it would be catastrophic for the country if it ended tomorrow, because overnight you will see all of this goodwill and this economic momentum that we now have disappearing. It'll disappear as quickly as the morning mist. And you will then open the door, as I said, for the EFF and MK to come in with their destructive policies that overnight will lead to massive disinvestment in South Africa. So the GNU is the most precious thing we have now as a country, and we have to nurture it and make sure that it succeeds. And that is why we're working very hard. And you know, there are people in the DA and in the ANC and in the other parties who are not fans of the GNU and who don't want to see it succeed. But that's, you know, they're in the minority, certainly in our party. But you see it playing out with Panyaza Lesufi and Gauteng and others. They are not fans of the GNU. They don't want to see it work. Our job as the builders in the country has to be to actually find ways of overcoming these differences and finding a way around them, and not turning everything into a zero-sum game where it's my way or the highway, or take it or leave it. We have to compromise. We're in the era now of compromise and coalition and finding each other. And I think the longer that we can make that last, I think the longer the GNU will last.
Intussen het Frans Cronje syfers bekend gemaak wat daarop dui dat die ANC se steun met sowat 6% gegroei het, hoewel die DA ook 'n redelike groei getoon het volgens die jongste syfers in 'n meningspeiling wat gedoen is. En dit stel die moontlikheid daar dat die ANC dalk in die volgende verkiesing weer 50% kan haal. Wat dan?
Well, luckily, even with 6%, it doesn't get them over the 50% mark. So, but yes, I think that, you know, like the sentiment has been the rising tide that lifts all boats. So it's lifting, you know, parties and their profiles, and lifting their ability. And I think the voters are happy with the way they see things. 62% of black voters are very pleased to see the DA's performance in the GNU. 80 to 90% of white, Indian and coloured South Africans are pleased with the DA's performance in the government of national unity. So what we can do is demonstrate to South Africans that we can actually do things and that life can get better. For many years we were told Home Affairs is unfixable. You'll never fix the queues at Home Affairs, you'll never fix the backlogs. In 100 days, Leon Schreiber has wiped out the backlog for IDs. He's going to make sure that Home Affairs is something that you do at home, not in an office. And I think you're starting to see that progress, the same in all of those ministries. And so voters are seeing the benefit of having members of cabinet and government ministers that are actually serious about their jobs and committed to finding solutions.
And you are in it to stay?
We're in it as long as we can create jobs and grow the economy. The moment that is prevented, either through assaults on the Constitution, things like the independence of the Reserve Bank, railroading through unaffordable NHI that will bankrupt the country, I set out very clearly, these are some of the things that would lead to us leaving. But these, I believe, are many issues where we can find compromise, we can find a way forward, and we must do that now, because South Africa needs the builders to work together. Because if the builders don't work together and don't hold the centre, we're going to surrender the country to the breakers and the radicals, and then we'll see real trouble going forward. And so, for instance, on Bella, the Bella Bill, it's very contentious. The DA is opposed to those clauses. We intervened, I personally intervened with the President to say, can we put a hold on this? Can we meet with the institutions and the community structures to try and find a way forward on this? But I make this point, if the DA leaves the government and the EFF and MK in, they'll remove Afrikaans as an official language. They will remove the Afrikaans version of DSTEM because the EFF have said we'll make this a condition of us moving forward. And so we must look at the bigger picture when assessing some of the smaller issues. And I certainly think it's a much healthier situation for for South Africa, having the DA in government, having us around the cabinet table, and being involved in the growth and jobs agenda. The day that we're stopped from being able to drive the growth and jobs agenda, that's the day we'll have to, our federal executive and federal council will make a resolution on whether we stay or whether we go.
Last question, just on the relationship with the ANC on municipal and provincial level in light of what happened in Pretoria. How are you handling that?
So I think that this also needs some clarity, because there's some analysts that think that there was, that Pretoria was, what happened in Pretoria should lead to the end of the GNU. Very clear, the GNU statement of intent was for a government of national unity. It wasn't conditional or made as a result of anything at a local level. We did, however, in the negotiations say that we'd look at stabilizing local government. But after what the ANC have done in Tshwane, led by their rogue renegade faction in Gauteng, led by Panyaza Lesufi, is they've actually now put a real brake on that stabilization agreement. The reality is the ANC needs us in Kwadakuza, it needs us in eThekwini, it needs us in Ekurhuleni, and needs us in many other parts of the country where things are about to get very difficult for them, because MK are going to force resignations and by-elections, because they've told councillors, particularly in eThekwini, if you resign now and stand as MK in the by-election, you can be our candidate in 26. If you don't, we're going to put a candidate up against you. And some of those ANC councillors are looking at the results slips and saying, well, then I don't have a chance. So you're going to see us then. So the ANC's majorities in councils are going to start to fall into peril. Now, you're going to need the DA there. What they've done in Tshwane is now put an end. We've said we're not entering into any local negotiations until the situation in Tshwane is repaired. Silas Brink was removed for no other reason than he was doing a great job. He was fixing the economy, he was fixing the council, and Panyaza Lesufi didn't like it because it cost his appalling ANC-led governments in such terrible light, and they know that the voters in Tshwane were seeing the difference that Silas Brink was making. So they had to remove him because he was doing a good job, and I think that is a real travesty and reversal of the cause of good governance in South Africa.
John Steenhuisen, thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
I must say minister now.
No, you don't have to say that at all.
Dit was John Steenhuisen wat gaaf genoeg was om vir ons so 15 minute tyd te gee daar in Witbank tydens die DA se landwye toer, die ministers van die DA wat 'n landwye toer doen. Baie dankie John dat jy vir ons tyd gemaak het, groot waardering daarvoor, en groetnis, ek sien vir julle môreoggend in Stroom op, dan kyk ons ook na my gesprekke met Sifiwe Garubi, die minister van onderwys, en ek het ook 'n bietjie met Ivan Meyer gesels oor landbou in die Wes-Kaap. Groetnis.